Hey guys, I want to make this video and give everybody a little bit of an update on what's going on with the sphere. In all my videos I post, everyone always comments, where's the sphere footage? Where's the sphere footage? So this video is going to address that. For people that don't know, I climbed the sphere back in February of this year, so February 2024, and I've yet to release the footage. And the reason why that is because I don't actually have the footage. I wish I did, but when the police arrested me, they took all of the footage away from my GoPro, from the drone, and they have held onto it ever since. If you haven't seen the climb of the sphere, you can go check out a video right here, but I'll give you guys a little bit of a rundown of what happened. It was by far the craziest arrest I've ever had. I've been arrested 10 times now. It feels fairly routine. I'm never really breaking the law. The only thing I've ever been found guilty of was down in Phoenix when I climbed the Chase Tower. There was a fence around the building, and because there was a fence, it bumped the charge up to second-degree trespassing, and I didn't know that. But when it's second-degree trespassing, they don't have to trespass you. And so I was taken straight to jail and went to court and found guilty. And gosh, this had to be in May. I did 6 days in jail because of it. But all my other climbs, I haven't broken the law, and I stand by that, especially with the sphere. What happened was I climbed the building, didn't break anything at all. It was really easy climb, probably the easiest climb I've ever done. It was so easy that my buddy Tim Clement, he's with Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust. If you watch any of my Instagram stuff, you can see Tim. He's the guy with the big mustache. It's quite a righteous stash. I wish I could grow one. But Tim walked up to the base of the sphere with me, and he saw how easy it was too. And Tim doesn't really rock climb. Every once in a while when he comes and visits me in Las Vegas, I'll take him out, and I took him out on this route. It's called Olive Oil. If anyone's familiar with climbing in Red Rock, Olive Oil, it's a fairly easy route, but for anyone who doesn't climb, they're probably going to struggle on it. But Tim did fantastic, and he's 51 years old, and he kept up the entire time, and he's in good shape for 51 years old, that's for sure. But while we were walking to the base, Tim's right behind me. He looked at the climb and he thought to himself, wow, this thing is so easy, maybe I should join Mason. But he decided not to climb with me because he was worried that it would take away from the news attention, and it wasn't something that was planned. Actually, I would have thought that it was awesome. I would have been so stoked. It's always how do I put it? It gets lonely up there, and misery loves company. And so I would have thought it was awesome. I probably would have gave him a big hug or a high five when I got on top. But that's how easy the sphere was. And anybody could really do it. It's pretty much a big ladder. Down below, it curves out because it's a ball. And so the beginning part, a lot of your weight is on your arms. But even then, it's so easy. It's a ladder. If you ever got tired, you can put your arm around the entire rung, which you don't normally get that luxury on buildings. I mean, you could do that on the New York Times building or the Salesforce Tower. Both of these buildings, they have rungs that you can rest on. But a lot of times your rests are pretty subpar. Like the Accenture Tower in Chicago, that building, there was a 500-foot section where you really didn't get a rest. It was a half rest, right? I mean, I had about an inch of ledge to rest my climbing shoes on, and you had to be careful even then, because on all of those ledges that line the edges of the glass, they always put silicone. And the silicone really gets in the way of where you want your climbing shoes to be, so it gets really, really slick. It was a half rest. Mainly I was resting my ankles and my feet, just shaking one foot out at a time because I didn't drink enough water when I started climbing. As soon as I started climbing, trying to finagle my toes into the small crack, my ankle would cramp. Normally when you climb a crack, you bend your knees to the side and you cam your foot in. Think of it like turning a key in a door. But with the Ascension Tower, the glass was in the way, so it was really hard to to turn my knee. My knee would hit the glass. So rather than camming my whole leg, I would just turn my ankle, and that would make them cramp so quickly. It was kind of miserable, but luckily I had those small rests to shake out an ankle or two, but the entire time still my weight is on my hands pumping my arms out. So I tried to climb just as fast as I could so that I could get up to the ledge. And I remember getting up to that first ledge, and I had an Ultra Right beer sponsorship at the time, and they had given me these beer cans that were filled with water because I didn't want to get an open container. I figured, man, I'm not breaking the law. I'd hate to, get off scot-free with climbing a skyscraper and go to jail because I had a beer on me. So I had them filled up with water. And I remember taking that first sip of water, and I think I chugged most of the can. I was so thirsty. Beforehand, I always hydrate. That's my goal. I try to hydrate as much as possible. And I use this electrolyte. It's called Element. It's LMNT. I found that those are absolutely the best electrolytes to take to keep from cramping. I've tried everything. Liquid IV, the little, I think they're called Noon tablets. But Element, that's the one that works for me. And I forgot to drink it the night before. So the morning of, I was cramping so hard. But anyways, I'm digressing. I'm trying to get used to talking to a camera. When I climbed the sphere, it was so easy. And I climbed it in probably 15 minutes. The plan was to get to the top, stand there, get some footage, cheering, take some photos, record a video, and then climb down the other side. I thought it would be really cool to do a traverse, I guess, of that peak. Usually when you climb a peak in the mountains, you'll climb up one way and then you'll go down the other. And so I thought that would be cool to do with the sphere. So I climbed really fast, thinking I was going to have to climb down, and usually down climbing takes a little longer. So at the top, within 15 minutes, I got up there. The police were on the inside in this platform. It's this big steel platform, and they told me to stay where I was, and they would open up a little latch. Here's a video of what the inside looks like. Actually, I might as well just show you guys. It makes it easier to explain, but here's the video. So you could hear a little noise in that video, and everybody in the comments thinks it was me breaking something, but if you're a climber, you understand that was a carabiner clicking noise. It's really funny when you're in the mountains, and especially when you're aid climbing, which is what I actually love to do the most, and you keep all of your weight on the carabiners, and you're using your gear to advance you up the mountain rather than free climbing like I am in that video, and I'm only using my hands and feet. But when you put your weight on the carabiners and you're on the mountains, you're already scared just by default because you're hanging on the side of a mountain. When your carabiners click, it makes your butt pucker a little bit, but you don't forget the noise, and that's what that was. But when I got to the top, they sent up the guy in the video, one of the construction workers, to open up one of the rungs. I thought it was pretty funny because I'm a pretty thin guy, and I could fit through the hole without him opening it up. But I don't know if it was just a insurance precaution or what the deal was, but they wouldn't let me actually go down through the hole. I kept suggesting it, like, hey, you don't have to go through all this work, but they were cool about it. But whenever I'm in these situations, I feel like I'm the hostage negotiator, and if the police tell me to do something dumb, I know that I have to listen to them, or you could possibly rack up an evasion charge. But I'm trying to talk them into doing whatever is safest. And in this scenario, it wasn't a big deal that they had to open the rung, so I didn't really fight it. But they opened up that rung. I went inside. They invited me in, right? So there goes your trespassing charge. I was invited inside. I made sure that I was invited in. You never want to go and trespass and go places where you're not invited, that's for sure. That's illegal, don't do it. They took me down the elevator, down to the ground, and they threw me in the back of the police car. And when I got in the police car, I noticed that they had maybe 3 or 4 other cars, and they were all full of all of my friends that were at the base. They were all inside their cars. And my friends, they had showed up to the climb strictly just to sit at the base and pray for me. I think prayer is so important. I don't think I would even think about climbing a skyscraper or a mountain without praying first. You definitely want God's protection, especially when you're climbing without a rope. So my friends, it's always nice having them there. It really is. They're a really supportive group of people, but they were just at the base, maybe holding their phones up and taking some footage because they thought it was cool, and praying. And the police had harassed them, full-blown harassment. And they had detained and arrested them for what? Really absolutely nothing. Here's the video.
What are you doing? Why are you putting your hands on my wife? Tell me what I'm being arrested for, sir. You're being detained. For what? Why are you detaining me? For what? For what crime, sir? So they're detaining me for, and they won't tell me why. Why am I being detained, officer? Sir, can I have your name and badge number? Why am I being detained?
Hello?
Don't
Hey,
what are you doing? Why are you putting your hands on my wife? Why are you putting your freaking hands on my wife, dude? Why are you putting your hands on my wife? What the hell did she do? Why are you putting your hands on my wife? Shame.
Yeah, so as you can see in that video, my friend AJ, he's asking the police officer, "Why are you detaining me? Why are you detaining me?" If you're ever getting detained or arrested, that should be the first question you ask. Why? Because they have to have a reason why. And of course, sadly for us, when I started climbing, the police chief of Las Vegas was in the middle of a press interview, and he had been asked the question about me climbing the sphere and what would happen to me, and he announced to all of the media that I would be arrested, but he never said what for. There was never any sort of investigation. So here I am, sitting in the police car, detained for what? They can't tell me because they don't know what law I broke, because I didn't break the law, believe it or not. There's no law that says you can't climb skyscrapers, and trespassing doesn't apply because I was never trespassed. It's not disorderly because, I do this all the time. I'm clearly a professional, so we just sat there illegally detained for probably about 5 hours. It was a long time. I'm not really sure. And I had even asked the officer that was sitting in the car with me, I'm like, "Hey man, what's the law? Like, what's the legal limit that you are allowed to detain me for before you arrest me and tell me what crime I broke, what law I broke, what crime I committed?" And he told me 1 hour. So I asked him, "Well, how long has it been? It's been 4 hours, has it not?" He said, yes, it's been 4 hours. So I asked him again, well, are you gonna let me go? You're breaking the law right now. They told me no. And the entire time I was in the back of the car to Las Vegas Metro, they were coming over to me and trying to debate me about abortion, which is also not allowed. Like you as a police officer are not allowed to show partiality, because that could be a conflict of interest. So here's illegal detainment and illegal arrest and partiality. It was a terrible situation, and 4 hours into it, I had to go to the bathroom. They still couldn't figure out what crime I committed. I asked, like, hey, can I go to the restroom? They told me to piss myself. I was not too happy about that. I tried to hold it in. I let a little go on accident, but eventually they took me to the bathroom. But, I mean, that should have never happened. Like, you can't just leave someone in a hot car for 5 hours in Las Vegas if you don't know what law they even broke. About 5 hours into it, they sparked up a conversation with a security guard. I think the security guard knew who I was, if I'm being honest. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to speak on that. This specific security guard, he was in charge of falconry. So he had a big hawk with him. And I'm not sure what the job of the hawk was. Whether it was to take down the drones, or, you know, they also hire hawks to take down other birds so other birds don't go after the drone. I'm not sure what his job was, but he was pretty mad at me because I'm pro-life. I think that's the guy. I don't really know. I'm sitting in the police car while this is all going on. But he told the police, somebody from the Sphere told the police, and they were baited into it from what I could see, because the police kept asking, do you think he broke anything? Do you think he broke anything? Baiting the security guards to get them to say that I broke something. And so they told the police that I probably broke up to $100,000 in lights, which is just not true. I mean, that's a false statement given to the police. No one ever rappelled down to see if I broke anything. There's zero proof that I broke anything. And once I have the GoPro footage, I'll show that. So that's what I was charged with, was felony destruction of property and felony conspiracy, which is insane. Me and John Gotti were charged with felony conspiracy. And then all of my other friends who were there at the base, they all got arrested and were thrown in jail for just literally holding their phones and taking a picture or two for their own enjoyment. One of them was in jail for about an hour, and the police go to her cell, and she's this sweet little Mexican lady, and her poor husband had to find out that she was thrown in jail. But the police, they come to her cell and they tell her, hey, we messed up. They used other language, but they said, we messed up, and they took her out of the cell and drove her back to the Sphere and dropped her off without her shoes. It was total police misconduct. And now because of it, I don't have my footage, which has cost me money. That month I climbed the Sphere was the best month I've ever had on YouTube. Regularly, I probably make anywhere between $50 to $200 a month. That specific month, I made around $4,000. And had I had the Sphere footage, I probably would have made a lot more money. So they cost me money that way. And then all of the defamation of all the newspapers running with, this idea that I broke $100,000 in lights. I mean, the police report says I was stomping out the lights as I was climbing. So now people are looking at me like I'm a destructive YouTuber. So they've cost me donations. And on top of that, when I go to the climbing gym, it's kind of worn off now. But when I was going to the climbing gym for months after, people were coming up to my face and screaming at me at the climbing gym. And climbers are historically very liberal. And so they've always had a reason to hate me just because of my cause. But now that the press is reporting that I'm this destructive YouTuber, they have a reason to yell at me. And so I was getting death threats all throughout Las Vegas. I'm a hard guy to kill, so I'm not usually scared of that, but someone did loosen the lug nuts on my tires a few months after, so I mean, I have reason to believe that some of them may be legit, I don't know, but it was all avoidable had the Sphere not given false statements. So next steps, my court case is December 2nd. I have to beat that court case. I'm pleading not guilty, obviously, and all of my friends are going to plead not guilty as well. And then I think I have to sue the Sphere. I'd be willing to settle out of court just because it's going to be a lot of work. But even if they don't want to settle on anything, I have to sue them. The reason why I think it's a good thing is because I believe that people need to be held accountable. The left holds people accountable. If you do something to the left, they will go out after you with all of their money. If you do something to the right, we'll complain about it, but we won't ever do anything about it. For instance, at a protest, if I were to push a leftist or a pro-abort, I'm going straight to jail. But there have been several times at protests where I've been body slammed, thrown on the ground, and the police, they don't do anything. And even if I filed the charges, I don't have the lawyers to help me go after them, so it will never amount to anything. But with this one, I definitely can win some money, so I think that I need to go after them, just to prove a point. Both the Sphere and the Las Vegas Metro. There have been other times where I've wanted to go after people, like the LAPD. The police officers were really nice when I climbed the Ritz-Carlton. If you haven't seen that video, you can check out my climb right here. The police officers were really nice, super cool guys. Actually, when they arrested me, they were kind of fangirling, and they always ask me, like, do you know that Alex Honnold guy and whatnot, and asking me questions about climbing and wanting to hear my stories. This specific time, it was funny because I was in the back of the police car in handcuffs, and the officer was, checking my mic here, was talking to me about George Floyd and how much he despises Black Lives Matter. It was pretty hysterical to be like in the back of the police car hearing his opinion of Black Lives Matter. But they took me to jail. I was in jail for maybe 5 hours or so, and they let me out, and everything was fine. But when I got out, the LAPD had tweeted out that I was mentally ill and receiving treatment, which was not true. They always do a mental health assessment, and they had told me to my face that I was obviously a sane professional. And the thing that's upsetting about it is that even if I was mentally ill and receiving treatment, telling the entire world that I'm mentally ill and receiving treatment would have been a HIPAA violation. That's against the law. But because I'm the pro-life guy, they can do whatever they want because I'm a conservative. In California, there's zero consequences for them. And I never took that to court. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm kind of mad because the papers ran with it. They said I was mentally ill, and it doesn't make you feel good when people are printing in the papers that you're mentally ill. So maybe I could send them a demand letter and see what they do, and maybe it's worth suing them. Maybe I just might. Maybe I'm convincing myself live on the air. But yeah, they kind of just print whatever they want. And in politics, there's a famous line, and it says, if you're defending yourself, you're losing. And that's something the right needs to learn. They need to learn that we can't just be on defense mode. We have to be on attack mode. The left ruins lives with these lawsuits, and I really don't see why we aren't doing the same. Obviously, We can't make up things, we can't lie, but we should be going after these evil people for their evil deeds and holding them accountable. I'll tell you the reason why the right doesn't. It's because it's very expensive and there's not a lot of money to be made doing it. And most of the conservative movement, I'll be honest with you, I've been behind the scenes for quite a while. Most of the conservative movement, they like you to think that they're these great warriors for truth and for justice. They're in it for the money. I'll be honest. I struggle to talk to a camera. Most of them don't. It's kind of like the Dire Straits song, Getting Paid for Nothing. They want to just talk to a camera and make money and go out on television and collect donations. And not a lot of people actually care about the cause. They care a little bit, but only up to the point where it requires sacrifice, where caring requires money or reputation. At that point, most of the wheat gets separated from the chaff. I think some guys, to name names, James O'Keefe, I think he really cares. I've become good friends with him. He's a hero of mine. He's been through so many lawsuits. He just does whatever he thinks is right. But a lot of these other guys, they just don't care. They're not suing people because there's no money to be made, sadly. But I've never really cared about money. I don't have a lot. I have about $100 right now in my bank account. And I clearly don't care about the consequences of what I do. I do somewhat, right? I want to avoid going to jail. I don't want to just go out and break the law. I don't think people should. Really, I guess the way I should frame it is I care more about the consequences of the babies and what will happen if I don't do something than the consequences to myself. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I try to fight for truth always, even if it costs me. I mean, if standing for Christ has consequences and it costs me money, then I was never meant to have that money to begin with. Look at my video of criticizing Trump. I had no real reason to do that other than I care about the issue. And it cost me a lot of money. I was looking at getting some big donors to get my org up and running. I started my own organization recently, and I was very excited because finally the tables were turning and it started to look like I was going to have some backing to do the things I want to do. And now all my donors are just ghosting me. They don't want to talk to me. But what you can count on with me is I say exactly what I'm thinking, and I'm not scared to make people angry. Obviously, I've become a heel to the climbing world. All the liberals, all the liberal climbers hate me, and so what's a few more people hating me, right? The Bible, it talks about being a fool for Christ's sake, and sometimes that's what you have to be. But you have to remember, they hated Jesus Christ first. And with all of this stuff that's going on with the Sphere or the LAPD with the Ritz-Carlton, all these false accusations and people telling me to jump off the building, no amount of hatred, no amount of false accusations can match the hatred and false accusations that Christ was met with. They hate me because they hated him first. And being a Christian, I can sleep peacefully at night knowing that I'm not alone in this battle. Sometimes when you truly stand for courage, when you truly do what is right and it costs you and no one else has your back, everyone starts betraying you. The people who were cheering you on when you pitched them the ideas, they start teetering off because they see what's happening to you and they don't want to face the same consequences. Sometimes in those situations, you start to feel very lonely. I use this phrase a lot. I say, lonely are the brave. And it's hard not to feel down. But you can have peace knowing that so long as you're standing for truth and you're doing what is right, Christ is with you and Christ has your back. And for all these people who are in this movement and all these weak, whitewashed pastors who are scared to speak out about abortion and scared to say what needs to be said, their reward is here on earth. But for those who speak truth and are willing to face consequences here on earth, their reward is in heaven. So you can find peace with that. And I really encourage people, if they wonder, where my courage comes from, where my bravery comes from, I encourage people to read the Bible. And not just read it, but believe it and understand the words that pour out of the pages. It's a true story. So often we say it's a true story, but it seems so distant. All of these apostles and disciples that were crucified and beheaded and stoned, we think that, wow, that was for the old, and thank God I don't have to do that today. And oh boy, what would I do if that ever became an option? But that's the reality of what it is to be a Christian, is to stand boldly even in the face of conflict. And sometimes I question that the people who call themselves Christians and aren't having stones thrown at them, maybe they're not living the way Christ wanted them to live. Now, obviously, everybody's called to different spheres of serving, but in this day and age, in this world that is so wicked, in this nation that is crumbling and falling apart, it's so easy to have stones thrown at you. So I question whether or not the people who are having no stones thrown at them are truly living the way Christ would want them to live. But anyways, this video, I wanted to encourage people, and just remember that sometimes standing for Christ comes at a cost, and keep that in mind and prepare yourself and be willing to accept that cost. To get back to the update. So all that sphere stuff happened. The court date is December 2nd. So hopefully we can win and I can spark these lawsuits and maybe make some money. I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably the brokest pro-life activist. Sometimes it makes me mad because I have quite a large following, but I haven't figured out how to really monetize it. I know part of the problem is me. I'm not a businessman. I've lived as a rock climbing carpenter for so many years, and I went from literally climbing every day, and that was just what I did. I'm a college student to now I'm this public figure, and so I've had to learn a lot, and I know that part of my struggles is that I'm learning, and I just need to keep grinding and figure it out and refine what I'm doing. But yeah, it would be nice to win some money in this lawsuit, fund some more pro-life shenanigans. The last few months, what I've been up to, I've been trying to fundraise and build my organization up. My organization's the Anti-Abortion Front. And people always ask me, like, what do you want your organization to do? And it's so hard to narrow down what our focus is, because really I see this organization as just an organization that does what's right, no matter the cost. That's what I want to do. I want to do a lot of investigative work. I went undercover a couple weeks ago, and I've been shipping cameras around the country to try to catch abortionists slipping up and saying bad, illegal things. But I also want to hold these abortionists accountable. When someone breaks the law, I don't want to just put a story out and let people complain. I want to go protest. If anyone was paying attention to my Instagram and they watched the whole Dr. Levy saga unfold, If you didn't, you can watch a video here. We found out that the local abortionist here in Las Vegas was a pedophile. In 1998, he was charged with 7 counts of sexual assault against minors. And for all of these crimes, it made me so mad because I did 6 days in jail for trespassing. And when I was in jail, people asked me what I was in there for, and I told them trespassing. They laughed and they asked me, no, really, what are you in here for? Drugs, fentanyl? And I said, no, trespassing. They couldn't believe that I went to jail for trespassing. But here is an abortionist who, according to court documents, and his wife raped his daughters, ages 6 and ages 9, and he got an Alford plea, pleaded down to child abuse and neglect, and got probation for it all. I found out about this. I was angry, so I wanted to hold him accountable. I spent that $4,000 of YouTube money that I had right away. No time to enjoy any luxury in this house. Spent all my money, flew 15 young people out to Las Vegas to protest this guy. And every day we were outside each one of the hospitals that he works at with signs that said Dr. Levy was a pedophile. We made petitions around UNLV, the university. He worked at UNLV, a university. We did a sit-in at UNLV, trying to hold this guy accountable. UNLV is the one that made me the most mad because I went to UNLV, and when you become a student at UNLV, they make you take this 12-hour rape course and why rape is bad. And then here I am catching one of their employees, finding out that their employee is a rapist, and they just didn't care. I'm not sure if any action has been taken by UNLV. It's absolutely disgusting. One of the hospitals, UMC Hospital, from what I heard, he was put on leave, which is good because they were about to open up an abortion sector. Now, him being on leave and being the head of the OBGYN department and their head abortionist, it means that we either stalled their abortion clinic from opening up, which is great. I mean, these clinics, they kill up to 30 babies a day. So every day that place is not open, that's somewhere around 30 babies saved. Obviously, some women are just going to go find another place, but it's a good thing that even if we stalled them, that's a good thing. But I've also heard no news on it opening, which could mean that they've just decided not to do it. So we were able to put them on leave, which is good. There's still more work to do. Recently, I made these stickers. Check them out. I'm going to place these all over UNLV. I'm really just annoying this guy, I think. He sent my mother a letter. I haven't looked at it. I don't look at legal documents unless someone hands them to me personally. But we're definitely making a difference, and I'm going to keep up the fight because I want this guy fired. There's no reason why a pedophile should be working as a licensed doctor. You can lose your medical license. My brother, he's in medical school. You can lose your medical license for a DUI, let alone pedophilia. It's disgusting that Nevada is allowing this man to practice. Not to mention his office window. I can't make this up. His office window looks out onto an elementary school playground. It's disgusting that this guy is able to stay in business. So we're going to keep protesting. We're going to try to shut this guy down, get his medical license revoked. It's going to be hard, and it's going to take a lot of money, and we might fail. That's the truth. You want to know why pro-life organizations don't get things done? It's because they're scared of failure. Because if you do fail, or you take years to accomplish a goal, you have to call up all of your donors afterwards and tell them that, hey, we failed, or hey, we need more money. And a lot of them aren't going to like that. People want immediate results. If someone's giving you money, they want to see immediate results. But sadly, sometimes these immediate results are just unrealistic. if you read Saul Alinsky's book, I don't like Saul Alinsky. I think he was a bad guy, but his rules are pretty applicable. It's called Rules for Radicals. He says he's a bad guy. He dedicated the book to Satan. Real bad guy. But the rules that he created for activism, they stand true. And one of the things he said is that you have to remember that activism is not a battle, but a war. So you can't give up. If you don't give immediate results, you have to keep going. So we're going to keep going. We're going to try to get this guy shut down. That's one of our goals. Of course, we're doing this while we're doing other undercover work. So something else might come up. We'll see. And also, we're fighting these elections. I've been down in Phoenix for some time, back and forth between Phoenix and Las Vegas. You have Prop 139 going on the ballots down there. These props, there's one in Florida, Nevada, here in Nevada where I live. There's one in Missouri and Arizona. They're all going to legalize abortion up till the day of birth, which is insane. Most pro-choicers even think that that's wrong. I believe life starts at conception, but you see a full-grown baby. It's insane to think that those babies will be put to death legally under the law. So I've been fighting those, doing undercover work, investigative stuff, making educational videos. Go check out my video on IVF. I'm working on another one about fetal organ harvesting. And of course, I'm going to start getting back into trying to take down Dr. Levy. But the org, it just has this wide scope of focus. And really the goal is to take over the entire pro-life movement. And I'll make some more videos on what's wrong with the pro-life movement in the future. But I just want to give you guys this update. Sorry if you thought this video was too long or poorly edited. Like I said, I'm really bad at talking to the camera. So give me some grace. I hope that if I just do it, if I just sit down in front of the camera and keep doing it, that I will get better. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad at talking. But if you want to help me in my organization, get funded, get up and rolling. If you like the work I do, go support us at antiabortionfront.org. .com works too, but become a monthly donor. I really need your help. I'm not offering anything. Like if you become a monthly donor, I think if you donate $100, you'll get one of these hats for free. But other than that, it's just a donation out of the kindness of your heart. I don't have the money or the time to provide something. Usually when donors donate, I'll give them a phone call or a text thanking them, so you can expect that. But really, it's just the kindness of your heart. I can't do what I do without the help of donors. That's truly the hardest part about working in the pro-life movement is fundraising. You have to ask people for money. It's so hard, but you can't do the work without having money. So really, my work it's up to you guys. So please, if you want to help out, if you like what I do, go to antiabortionfront.org and help me out. But thank you guys for all your support. Stay blessed, stay in prayer. If you're not following Christ, repent of your sins and be forgiven. Thank you guys.